Hi folks, I'm Ignatiy Vishnevetsky.
And I'm Alex Dowd.
Today we're talking about the latest Zack Snyder legal thriller set in the DC Comics universe, Justice League.
Welcome to Film Club. So the first image that we see in Justice League is it's cell phone footage of Superman smiling. And I think that this is a very deliberate choice. I mean, I should say that, number one, that this is an image before the character dies in the previous film. Spoiler alert.
Batman v Superman,
right.
The Dawn of Justice.
But to me, this feels like a very deliberate, them telling the audience immediately, hey, we heard your complaints about these movies being sort of excessively bleak. And we're telling you from the very first frames that this is going to be a slightly lighter version.
Well, they're also telling us from the first minute that this movie is just going to be one big mess of studio notes, because what immediately follows is a shot that is so clearly set up to be the first shot of a film.
Yeah.
It's a pan up. It's one of the few pieces of actual visual storytelling in this very, very expensive movie. It's a pan up from a newspaper that says, from a faded old newspaper that says Superman dead.
Yeah.
That would be a nice opening to this film, but it isn't.
Instead, we get this minute of cell phone footage, essentially.
Now, this is credited to Zack Snyder.
Yes.
Though it's
who directed Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and has sort of set the house style of the DC
the artistic godfather of the DC film universe. Though
there's blame to be laid, lay it at his feet.
Though it is known that he had to leave the production earlier this year when they were doing reshoots, and something like 20% of this movie is actually directed by Joss Whedon, who also did The Avengers, Avengers Age of Ultron, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and so on and so forth. You couldn't think of someone who in theory would be more different than Snyder. But the thing is, Snyder has always been so generic at directing dialogue that you can't tell who does.
That's true. It's not like you can go through this film. I mean, I think it does have some of the hallmarks of Snyder's style. There's a little bit of the speed ramped action.
Yeah, there's the bombastic slow-mo.
Yes, these giant figures leaping at each other in battle. But I think you're right that it's not like you can watch this film and go through scene for scene and say, this is a Snyder moment, this is a Whedon moment. It does make a certain sense that he was brought on because this movie very desperately wants to be the Avengers. I mean, the sort of basic setup of it is that Batman and Wonder Woman, who had her own movie this year, much better received than the other DC films, and I would say a better film than this one as well. The two of them are basically putting together a team because there's this extraterrestrial menace coming. Yeah. So we sort of get them sort of globe hopping around and finding other members of this team.
And telling some jokes, because Batman is now Tony Stark.
He is. Yeah. He is. He's Tony Stark in this world now. But, so they're going in, they're getting Aquaman, they're getting The Flash, they're getting Cyborg. And it's sort of a putting the team together movie. I think that this film is as much of a mess as the other sort of much derided DC films. I would say that's a mess that's a little bit more my flavor than the other ones.
Yeah, I think after we got out of the screening, I told you that I thought this sucked.
Yeah.
I stand by that statement. But I would rather rewatch Batman v Superman. That film is overlong, overblown, narratively incomprehensible for about the first 90 minutes. But I am sort of endeared by its pretensions. I like that it has these completely overblown moments. It has a dream sequence inside of a dream sequence. There's all of this completely misplaced ambition.
Yes.
Whereas this film feels like a TV pilot to me.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a sort of committee meeting about it feels very much like the franchise extension that it is. We need to get all these characters together. One reason that The Avengers works is that those characters had individual movies. Those movies might have felt in their own way like prelude to the Avengers, but at least we got to know Captain America, we got to know Thor, we got to know Iron Man. It basically wants to be the Avengers without any of the legwork. It's like, we're going to introduce all these new characters, throw them together into frame, and there's really no space for any of these personalities to emerge too much. I do think that a couple of the actors are pretty good. Ezra Miller is very funny as the Flash.
Silica-based quartz sand fabric. Abrasion resistant? Heat resistant?
Yeah, I do competitive ice dancing.
It's what they use on the space shuttle to prevent it from burning up on re-entry.
I do very competitive ice dancing.